Never thought I'd be doing this again on this channel, but since the topic is related to anime, I think it's more or less fitting for me to do it on the main channel than on my other channel, Tony Talks, which plug. Go check out that channel. Anyway, hey guys, the Black Critic Guy. Didn't really expect to do this live chat, but I do want to talk about this topic. I think it's an interesting topic. I also think it's an important topic. And I definitely would like to have a discussion about this because I think it is an interesting discussion to have. I stand on one side. I'm sure there are many people that stand on the other side when it comes to discussions like this. So it'd be interesting to see how other people feel about this topic. And the topic, of course, deals with the director of recovery of an MMO junkie who has been retweeting and posting anti-Semitic posts on Twitter, and it's got a lot of people outraged. In fact, before I share my opinions, I'm going to read the article to you guys in its entirety. Now, it's a long article, so I apologize that this might take a little bit to get it rolling, but I do want to give you all the context of what is happening, hear what is the problem, hear what people have to say about the problem, and then I'm going to chime in and share my opinions. So here we go. Let me go ahead and share my screen now. So this is the article. This is on Anime News Network. I guess it's in the topic of interest. So basically, recovery of an MMO junkie director causes controversy with anti-Semitic tweets. Recovery of an MMO junkie director. I'm not even going to pronounce his name. I know I'm going to butcher it. Okay, maybe I'll try. Kazuyoshi Yaginuma. Kazuyoshi Muna has been tweeting, retweeting, and liking anti-Semitic content on Twitter since soon after he joined the social media service in 2011. He recently began to engage with Twitter users posting in English after his activity related to anti-Semitic posts caused a stir online. Yaginuma, whose posts under the handle Yaginuma-san, has posted and shared content related to disparaging Jewish people on the social media service. His posts sometimes reference religions such as Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and include content openly sympathetic to Nazis. I just want to also state, just in case if people have forgotten, the allies of the Nazis were the Japanese. Now, I'm not saying that this guy is, he's trying to open up that bridge of like Japan has always been loyal with Germany, but I do want to emphasize that context and history. So maybe that could be the case. Maybe I'm just looking into it too much. But when I first heard this story, that was the first thing that popped in my mind. Like a Japanese person being sympathetic to Jews, not too shocking considering their history. That's like us being sympathetic to British people. I mean, they were our allies. Of course, we'd be sympathetic to them. Well, not everybody. Don't lump all the Japanese together because of this one guy, which is going to be the theme of this video. Anyway, continuing on. In a tweet from September 2012, Yaginuma asked why Hitler and the Nazis had to, quotations, carry out the genocide of Jews, questioned whether they did, and asked his readers if they have ever investigated the veracity of Anne Frank's diary. Have you looked into whether Anne Frank's diary is real? Anne Frank, whose home is now a museum in Amsterdam, was a Jewish girl that hid from the invading Nazi forces with her family beginning in 1942. A total of 8 people hid in the annex created behind the bookcase for 2 years before they were discovered, captured, and murdered in a Nazi death camp in Auschwitz. I can't pronounce it correctly. Auschwitz. Only Anne Frank's father, Otto, survived the war. Before and during Anne's time in hiding, she kept the diary. My bad. I don't know why I said journal. She kept the diary of her experience. She was 15 when she was killed. Yaginuma's likes and posts related to anti-Semitic content gained attention from English-speaking Twitter users last week. And this is a post from Canapa, from the Canapa Effect. He posted this tweet from someone named Forrest O'Fuhr saying, the question was never why did Hitler hate the Jews, although he had legitimate reason to. No, he didn't. The question you should be asking is, why did the Jews hate Hitler? I mean, you can answer that. He killed millions of their people. I mean, come on. You really think a bunch of Jews are going to be sympathetic towards Hitler? Come on, brother. You know better than that. And then I guess this was retweeted and liked by Kaginuma-san. And then Canapa says, just one of the recent tweets by Kaginuma, director of MMO Junkie in several episodes of Pokemon Generation. A disappointed face, I guess. And there's much more. I'll bring up Canapa a little later in this video as well. Initially, some Twitter users questioned whether Yaginuma fully understands the English post that he has liked and retweeted. He revealed on Monday that he used Google Translate to assist him in posting at least some of his English tweets. However, Yaginuma's tweets in Japanese continue to mirror the anti-Semitic content of his English posts. Yaginuma posted a string of tweets on Tuesday related to Nazi use of gas chambers and supposed links between Jews and financial conspiracies. Yaginuma attempted to cast doubt on the Nazis' use of the gas chambers for mass execution during World War II because no one ever drawn what they looked like or how they worked. It's kind of a weak argument to why the gas chambers were never used for mass execution. I mean, we found the bodies, we found the chambers, we know how they operated. I mean, what more evidence did you need? Just because what would a drawing do to convince you that real life photos of the dead bodies and the chambers could not? Again, that's a weak defense. There were no drawings, thus it didn't exist. That's like the retarded equivalent of no pics or it didn't happen. The United States Holocaust Memorial Museum outlines the Nazis' use of gas chambers during World War II. Nazis used carbon monoxide gas from diesel engines funneled into rooms to execute Jews, Roma, and other prisoners. They also gassed prisoners with the cyanide-based pesticide, I'm not going to pronounce that, at some of their death camps, including Auschwitz. Due to his beliefs surrounding Judaism, Yaginuma is also critical of Japan's relations with Israel. Additionally, he has received praise for self-identified English-speaking alt-right Twitter users. He has retweeted many of their posts in approval of his apparent anti-Semitism. While preparing this article for publication, Anime News Network's, also not going to pronounce that name, Lindsay Loveridge received messages from Yaginuma supporters, including one allegation that Yaginuma would be a figurehead in the upcoming race war. Sounds like a troll to me. Anime News Network contacted Yaginuma to question him about whether his tweets reflect his personal views, to confirm that he holds an anti-Semitic bias, as well as ask whether he really believes the Holocaust didn't exist, if these views affected his work in the industry, and how he thinks Jewish fans of Recovery of an MMO Junkie should feel about his comments. Yaginuma was initially receptive to answering the questions, but later simply directed staff to his tweets about the Holocaust, where he reiterated that he questioned the validity of the evidence-based historical account of the event and believes the facts are fabricated. And I guess this is a quote from somebody that praised the anime and now they wish to take it back. I feel sick that I named it one of the best shows of the year, and I wish I could take that back. I'm going to come back to this quote again, too. Whether Yaginuma perceives his comments as discriminatory or not, they have a chilling effect on Jewish fans of his work, including Anime News Network's senior reviewer, Rebecca Silverman. Silverman was a fan of MMO Junkie, even placing it in her top 5 of 2017. and you can keep it there. Just FYI, by the way. And then they say the quote that I just read earlier. Silverman said, I know that there's some people who would say that it would be overreacting because it takes more people than a director to make a show successful. But I can't stomach praising the show of someone who would deny and praise what was done to my culture. I understand where you're coming from. I truly do. Silverman's extended family attempted to flee Europe during World War II. Some successfully made it to America, Canada, and in one case, South Africa. The rest of them died, and several of the villages they lived in were fully destroyed. She said, family members on both Silverman's maternal and paternal sides fought in the war, but when it was over, the sting of being labeled outsiders still remained. I'm guessing this is a picture of her extended family. Yeah. Paternal grandmother, great aunt circa 1940. Picture was edited by Silverman's sister to also include her great grandmother who died of the flu in the early 20s. Oh, I'm guessing back here. That's her. As a kid in Florida, my mother wasn't allowed to join the Girl Scouts because it had white Christians only clause. When Rebecca's grandfather died, the family had to quit keeping. I guess they go into her backstory here a little bit. I'm sorry, I don't mean to like push away her story, but I want to get to the main crux. So let's get back to here. Jewish anime fan and convention panelist presenter Ruben Baron agrees that while he doesn't think Yaginuma's comments should turn fans away from the manga, he couldn't recommend the anime series any longer. He added that when industry members express discriminatory views, it worries him about who else might feel the same way. The comment makes me nervous which creator is going to be milkshake ducked. I have no idea what that means. Next. Most everyone I've seen talking about the story is similarly disappointed with the director. I'm sure there are Nazis defending him, but I keep my distance from them, he said. Byrne has co-hosted Passover panels focusing on the crossovers between Jewish Japanese history, Jewish anime characters, both established and fan canon, and Jewish mythos in the works of Evangelion at Anime Boston 2012 and 2015. Nazi iconography, I think iconography, something like that, appears in anime series occasionally, usually without historical context. Baron elaborated that Yaginuma's views are considered extreme in a medium that exhibits anti-Semitism, usually out of ignorance instead of genuine malice. I know, for instance, when the Protocols of Elders of Zion was translated into Japanese, they took in the Jews want to control the world conspiracy from it, but without having the whole historical Christian Jews killed Jesus / are the devil concept. They ironically saw it as an aspiring manual on imperialism, he said. Is this going into more of the history? The Protocols of Elders of Zion is a fabricated anti-Semitic text that originated in Russia in the early 1900s and claims to be meeting minutes of it claims to be the meeting minutes of a group of Jewish leaders where they discuss plans for a Jewish world order, overthrowing Christian values and controlling the world press and economy. The forgery was debunked in the 1920s, but nonetheless was translated and spread worldwide with the help of Henry Ford and later Nazi indoctrination of school children in the 1930s and 40s. Nazi imagery in anime and how it reflects on the staff involved can be hard to pin down. For instance, one of the screenwriters of Angel Cop, an original video anime released in between 1989 and 1994, that mirrors the stereotypes from the Protocols of Elders of Zion, is the same person behind Full Metal Alchemist, the movie. Baron describes the movie as the most positive portrayal of a Jewish character I've seen in an anime, and it's all about killing Nazis. An anime series choice to use Nazi imagery, whether as a plot focal point or stylistic window dressing, can have an effect on viewers. Silverman describes not feeling really comfortable with how Nazis are shown in anime. I've always been uncomfortable with anime's treatment of Nazism, to be honest. How? I don't think I've ever seen an anime where a Nazi was shown in such a good light. Most of the anime I've seen where Nazis are in them, they're the villains. So let's see, where did I stop? To be honest, intellectually, I am fully aware that they sided with Germany during World War II, so their perspective is going to be pretty different from mine as a Jewish American. But it still makes me uncomfortable when Nazi-style uniforms are used or Nazi themes are heavily drawn upon, such as in Desraye? I can't pronounce that word. The gas chamber scene in Bungo Stray Dogs, or even Ghost 6 second half. Ghost 6 second half takes place in the 1920s. The Nazis didn't rise to prevalence until the 1930s. No, so this right here is factually incorrect. If you really saw Ghost 6, and keep in mind, I saw Ghost 6 7 years ago at this point. The second half of Ghost 6, it ends to where the main character, who's Japanese, joins the military, but it was during the 1920s that he joined it, not the 1930s. And Japan and Germany at that time did not become allies until the 1930s. So this one's wrong. As for the gas chamber scene in Bungo Stray Dogs, I would have to know the context of that scene, but maybe the reason for that gas chamber scene was to elicit some type of emotion for the audience. I mean, that's not uncommon when you're telling a story. You want to tell a story that will have an emotional impact on your audience. Okay. I feel like anime doesn't always, or perhaps ever understands the impact that World War II had on the global Jewish community. And while I don't think that they mean to be insensitive, it comes off that way more often than not. Hands down, one of my favorite lines ever is when Benny from Black Lagoon says, "Fuck the Nazis." Says, "Fuck the Nazis have always been Fuck the Nazis has always been my family creed." I remember thinking, yeah, someone gets it. I mean, wasn't Benny a Jewish character though? Remind me, guys, if Benny was a Jewish character. I believe he was. So of course, fuck the Nazis would be his family creed. That's within his character. Yaginuma also remarked on Twitter this week about his position in the anime industry in relation to his beliefs. He replied to another Twitter user who identified as a conservative and apparently shares some of Yaginuma's views. The Twitter user advised Yaginuma to be cautious and express respect for the anime director. Yaginuma replied, "Thank you very much. My job is anime, but the Japanese anime industry is thoroughly hopeless. It's being made Jewish." In a related tweet, the director uses the word Goyim. I can't say that word. Goyim, a word widely appropriated by anti-Semitic groups. Yaginuma added he believes the present period is humanity's greatest crisis and wonders if information exchanged online may be impossible in a few years. Recovery of I think this just goes into what the show is about, basically. Anime News Network reached out to Production IG US president, I'm also not going to say that name, for comment. Blank reached out to Signal MD for their response, but it was not received by press time. If Signal MD later responds, Anime News Network will update this article with its statement. In addition to directing recovery of an MMO Junkie, Yaginuma provided key animation for many anime and worked as episode director for series such as Pokemon Generation, from the New World. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Beck, Bocarano, and Rio Rainbow Gate. Okay. Sorry that went on for much longer than I expected, but I wanted to give you all that context before I share my thoughts on this. So with all that said, yes, it's very clear that Yagi Numa is an anti-Semite. He has made it very clear where his stance is. And I do condemn his stance. I do not agree with it whatsoever. I think that it's very foolish and irresponsible for people to deny the Holocaust, especially when there's so much evidence to back it up. It's like the people who say that the earth is flat. You're telling yourself this because you do not want to accept what has been the common belief that has been backed up with proof and science. I mean, if you really want to know if the gas chambers are real, you are a well-known, accomplished anime director. Buy a plane ticket to Germany and go on one of these trips to Auschwitz and some of these old, like the remnants of some of these old Nazi war camps. You'll see it for yourself. Watch some documentaries. There's a bunch of them out there. Read some manuals that were made during the time of the Nazi regime. You will find your proof. It's there. But as this pertains to the recovery of an MMO junkie, my friend Bob Samurai put it best that we should really separate the art from the artist. And they even mention so in the article itself. She says that I know that I shouldn't condemn this show because there are hundreds of people that worked on it. It's not just that one guy, but it still taints it a little bit because of his involvement. And it is a big involvement. It's not like he was one of the in-between artists who had anti-Semitic reviews or anti-Semitic views. He's the director. He's the one helming the project. And I get it. You know, it's the whole thing of like one rotten apple can ruin the whole bunch. One rotten apple in the bunch can ruin the entire basket. I get that sentiment. But at the same time, I don't really think people should hold it against recovery of an MMO junkie. And the reason I don't think so is because unless Yagi Numa actually put in the anime his views on the world, I don't think we should condemn it. If he actually put anti-Semitic views in the story, if the main character was an anti-Semite, then I would say, yes, boycott this show, because what it is basically is the director making propaganda for the sake of his own beliefs rather than trying to tell a good story. You know, but he didn't. He did not incorporate any of his beliefs into the anime, thus making, like, the only involvement that he had was his own skills to direct the anime. His personal beliefs had nothing to do with had nothing to do with the making of the anime. So I think that it should be in a realm of, yeah, we should leave this alone. It has nothing to do with Yagi Numa's views. I keep saying reviews. I don't know why. It has nothing to do with Yagi Numa's his views. So that's why I don't think people should condemn the show. That's why I was kind of let down when I saw Silverman say that, you know, I'm ashamed to say that it was one of the best anime of 2017. It should still be one of the best anime of 2017 if that's how you truly feel. I lost my train of thought for a second. If you still feel like that it's the best anime of 2017 based off of its own merits, not because of the people that worked on it, based on its own merits, if you still feel like it is one of the best anime you saw in 2017, keep it on the list. Do not feel bad or ashamed that you liked it because of one person's involvement. There's always going to be one bad person in the group, but they should not be a reflection of the whole group, is the thing. And I mentioned I was going to go back to a couple of statements in the article, one of which was from Canepa, who's the guy from the Canepa Effect, who posted the tweet he He posted the picture of the tweet that Yagi Numa retweeted and liked. And he said, just one of the recent tweets by Yagi Numa, director of MMO Junkie, and several episodes of Pokemon Generation. And there's much more. I get what you mean, Canapa. I know you're trying to point out that this guy has these types of views. But again, actually, no. Let me step back a little bit because I'm trying to gauge the context of that. Gauge the context of that post. I don't really think it was to condemn the shows. He was basically just pointing out that he was very disappointed by this director, and I don't blame him. I'm disappointed, even though I'd be honest, I don't really give a shit about this director. I didn't even know the director's name until this very day. All I knew is I really enjoyed MMO Junkie. I didn't really care who directed it. Anybody could have directed that anime because I'll be honest, directing wise, there's not much style to MMO Junkie for me to say, yeah, that is no one else could have directed MMO Junkie. The style that this director brought to the table cannot be replicated. It just felt like a standard directing. It felt like a very standardly directed anime. I mean, really, what was visually impressive about MMO Junkie? Nothing truly. What really held that anime up was its fantastic characters, mainly the two leads, the romance, the humor. That's really what carried this anime, not the direction, not really the animation either. So, and the voice acting on the Japanese side. Excuse me. There's another thing I wanted to point out again. I forgot where it is. By the way, can somebody tell me what milkshake duct means? In fact, I just clicked on it. Hold up. Milkshake duck is an internet meme that describes the phenomenon that are initially perceived as positive, only to soon after be revealed as deeply flawed. Oh, okay. Interesting. I mean, you should never. Oh, actually, that brings up another great point that my friend Bob Samurai pointed out too, where we shouldn't be idolizing people based off of or he doesn't believe in idolizing big named people in Hollywood based solely off of their accomplishments. That was his point. And I agree. I don't really think we should ever idolize people. We should praise them for what they did, respect what they did, and try maybe to even reach that pinnacle. But when you start idolizing people, you put them on this pedestal, and when they do something that doesn't really gel well with you, you do your best to knock them off that pedestal. But the thing is, you shouldn't have put them on the pedestal to begin with. Now, I don't know if many people really put Yagi Numa on a pedestal, but considering the reaction, people did hold him to a high regard because he directed such a well-received anime. And I don't think you should do something like that. You should hold somebody to a high regard based off of not only the accomplishments that they make, but also the type of person that they are and what they're like outside of the context of the art they make. That's why I respect people like, believe it or not, I actually respect Paul Walker. He might not be the greatest actor, but what he did off camera is very impressive. The many charities that he created and donated to, I forgot, there was other things that he did, but mostly he was very into charity work. He did a lot of charities, and I actually found I learned that after his death. And I'm like, wow, this guy was actually a good person. He didn't just let Hollywood take over his ego and stuff. He decided to contribute back to the world. And his contributions are still felt to this day, even though he died 5 years ago. So yeah, I think more or less, if you want to hold people to such high regard, I think you should do it based off of their merits as a person, not by the stuff that they made, I love Quentin Tarantino. I do not hold him at a high regard as a person. He's kind of an asshole. No, not kind of. He is an asshole. But that's his personality. That's who he is. But when it comes to him being a director, I feel like he's a totally different person. He's a man that's focused and knows what he wants to get through. Outside of the cameras, off camera, when he's not making the film, the guy's an asshole. He's a jerk. He's pretentious sometimes. I don't really hold him to such high regard. But I do like him as an accomplished director. And I respect him, and I strive to be just like him as a director, not as a person. There was another comment I wanted to mention. I feel like the anime doesn't always, or perhaps ever, understand the impact World War II had on the global Jewish community. I think that's a fair statement. I don't think they do understand the impact, but it's not that they don't know. I just don't think they care. As for another thing that kind of bothered me here was when she talked about Nazi imagery in anime. Again, I don't know which anime she's been watching, but any Nazi imagery I've ever seen in anime was always in a negative light. They were never held up as these revered people. Hell, Hellsing Ultimate is all about the Nazis coming back into power, and they're never portrayed as the good guys. They're the bad guys throughout. Hell, you could even argue that our good guys are practically bad guys too. So, as for the gas chamber in Bongo... I say Bongo. Bungo Stray Dogs, or Bungo. I think it's Bungo Stray Dogs. I would have to talk to Sloan about that because she loves that anime. And I want to really know the context about what that gas chamber scene she's referring to. And then the Ghost Sick second half. Again, Ghost Sick, the second half of Ghost Sick had nothing to do with the Nazis. Now, I might be wrong. Maybe there was like a hint to the Nazis. But the anime, the second half of the anime ends in 1922. I remember this, 1922. And I was thrown off because it was saying that Japan was going off to war. And I was like, well, wait, Japan didn't join the war until the 1930s. But the thing is, during this time, Japan was actually warring with Korea and China, and they were trying to take over their lands and successfully did. They were trying to expand their kingdom. This is a fact I learned later on after watching the anime. So when the main character is going off to war, it's not to World War II. It's actually the war in the Pacific, taking over Korea and China. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Now I understand, because during the 1920s, that's when Japan was trying to gain more territories, and they were really despised by their Asian neighbors. China and Korea, to this very day, still hate a lot of Japanese people. There's a big Japanese bias. Now it's slowly disappearing because the youth have embraced more of the Japanese culture. But if you talk to some of the old people, they hate Japanese people. Hell, I know people here on Guam that fought in World War II that hate Japanese to this very day and do not want Japanese people coming to Guam. They think the tourism in Guam is, how do you describe it? He called it a cancer because we're basically inviting these intruders who try to destroy our land, is how he described it. So, though I definitely understand. But point being, I don't think that the Ghost Sick reference belongs in this article because it has nothing to do with the whole Nazi imagery. He wasn't part of the Nazi regime. He was a Japanese soldier. Trying to find that other thing I wanted to touch on. I guess I can't find it because I think it was from Baran. He posted something that I wanted to comment on. Just reading through the report real quick. Nope. I guess I won't be able to find it. My point is this. I'll sum it up and then I'll go to the comment section, read you guys' comments. My point is this. You need to be able to separate the art from the artist. This whole controversy, I think, is I don't even consider it a controversy. That's why I put it in quotations, controversy. Because honestly, I don't think it's a big deal. Yes, he has anti-Semitic views, but they don't affect the quality of the anime that he made. If it actually affected the quality of the anime that he made, then yes, this is a controversy. This is a problem. But The anime is totally apolitical. It has no political standings to the left or to the right. It's a story about a woman who quit her job and lives the neat life and plays a lot of MMORPGs, forms a friendship with a supposed girl that she finds out is actually a guy later on, and has a romance with said guy. That's the main plot of MMO Junkie. Now, if the main plot of MMO Junkie was about a woman who quits her job and then becomes a shit poster on Twitter talking about and like how the Jews are taking over the world and all that stuff, then there's a problem, and that should not be included at all. But do separate the art from the artist. That's what you need to do. Because if we can't separate art from the artist, then we should condemn all Walt Disney films that were made during his time, because he was an anti-Semite. If we're gonna try to condemn MMO Junkie because its director was an anti-Semite, then we should be equally offended and equally condemn the works of Disney. Yet to this very day, Disney is held up to a very high regard as a producer, but not as a person. He was a hardcore producer that knew what he wanted and had a clear what's the word I'm thinking of? Shit, I hate when I do this. He had clear direction. He knew what he wanted. He knew where he wanted to go. He knew what he wanted to achieve, and he got it done. I respect him as a producer, as a hardworking person. As an individual on his own merits, I do condemn a lot of his behavior because I don't agree with it. All right. Now, with all that said, let's read your comments. I know I haven't gone to the comment section at all, so. I remember when Donald Duck was a Nazi. Yeah, I remember that too. Let's see. Where? By the way, you guys can ask questions. I'm going to be answering it for the next 24 minutes. So, the gas chamber was nothing. Don't bother researching. Okay, maybe just can you tell me what the context of that gas chamber scene was? I just want to know the context so I don't sound misinformed here, or I don't say something and then somebody's like, "Oh, that's not the right way." Just like the ghost sick line. I don't want to be misinformed. So if someone can explain a bit of the context of the gas chamber scene from Bongo Stray Dogs, that'd be great. Bob, if you donate and then write it off from your taxes, is it still considered a donation? Wait, Bob Samurai's in this? Let's see. I hope you're doing good right now. Is it okay if I consider you my friend? Yeah, you could consider me your friend. By the way, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to come off as dismissive. I'm just trying to read all these comments. That's why. Should you separate art from the artist? What do you think of that? Well, I kind of mentioned my stance on that already, cool girl. I do think you should separate the art from the artist. I'll give you another example, but on the opposite side. Birth of a Nation. Birth of a Nation is widely considered to be one of the most important films ever made, but is one of the most offensive and highly controversial films because of its depiction of African Americans and the Ku Klux Klan. It's probably the most racist film to ever be accepted by a mainstream audience. But what a lot of people don't know is that its director, D.W. Griffith, was not a racist at all. In fact, he was totally okay with African Americans. He had no problems with them. And when he found out that his film, I don't know how it escaped his mind, because I mean, you're writing a film that was based off of a book called The Klansman, man. I mean, come on. I mean, the original film or the original title of the film was called The Klansman. You would think, hey, maybe I shouldn't do that, but no, he did. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that his political views did not line up with the film's political views, but he was still equally condemned because he made that film, because they thought that the work of art represented the way that he thinks, and that's not the way he thought at all. He just wanted to tell a good story, and I guess he thought that The Klansman was a good story, although people took it as historically real. They took it as a work of non-fiction, whereas maybe he took it as a work of fiction, a story about these great men who fought for a cause, lost the cause, but then fought for a new noble cause. He was a storyteller. His film wasn't trying to be political. It just ended up being political. Then again, he was kind of tone deaf in that. But he was condemned for many years for making that film. And following that film, he would make another film called Intolerance, which was a direct response to Birth of a Nation. And for so many years, I'd never condemned D.W. Griffith. I don't think he was a racist. I don't think he had racist sentiments. He was an artist that got blinded by his work and didn't see the clear picture. That's why I separate his art from his individual personality. Tony, I think your trailer roundup video was terrible because the jokes were poorly executed. And in my opinion, next time, can you not force your jokes like you did in that video? Well, that's your opinion. So I personally liked how the video turned out. I especially liked the part where I was talking about Solo Star Wars story, and I did the whole like Star Wars fans condemning me, which actually happened when I was saying that I did not like The Last Jedi. I think I'll still watch Weinstein movies, as crazy as that sounds. I think you should still watch films that were executive produced by Harvey Weinstein, because keep in mind, Harvey Weinstein didn't really have much of an impact in the films that he executive produced. An executive producer is a man that makes sure that your film is financed, that it gets the money that it needs to be made. And then they go ahead and push the film to get some awards. That's his contribution to these films. But he had nothing to do with the creative side of these films. He only helped to make sure that it was financed, it was made properly, and maybe if it's good enough, it can get some awards buzz. That's the only, like, I feel like people totally forget what Harvey Weinstein's role was in the Weinstein Company. He was an executive producer. People look up what an executive producer is. He was never on the sets all that much. He'll show up now and again, and he'll mostly go to press screenings. He'll go to big galas or award shows, events like that. That's when Harvey Weinstein shows up. But he wasn't in the day-to-day process of making the film. So I don't think you should condemn any films produced by the Weinstein Company because Harvey Weinstein had involvement. His involvement was a monetary involvement and then an awards push. That's his only involvement. So don't condemn those films because Harvey Weinstein just happened to pay to make it made. It's sort of like the creator of Rurouni Kenshin. What he did was messed up, but you can still like his work, just not his action. Wait, what did he do? What did he do? Now I need to know. Now I need to know, what did he do? If someone says we should separate the art from the artist, do we consider them to be Nazi supporters? I don't think so. I don't support the Nazis whatsoever. I condemn the Nazis. I don't like Nazis. Although I don't believe that, you know, it's such a hard thing when you're trying to discuss Nazis, because there's a lot of people out there that think that it's okay to punch Nazis, kill Nazis. And for me, I feel like that's always been like a slippery slope. That's basically the equivalent of saying, hey, punch people that don't share my beliefs. And it's only a matter of time where that punching is going to be turned towards you. I think what you can do is, the best way to defeat a Nazi is to discredit them. Like, just publicly shun them. Publicly humiliate them for the stupid assholes that they are. That's how you beat a Nazi. When you punch or threaten death upon a Nazi, what you do is you make that Nazi a victim at that point. And that's exactly what they want, because that makes them come off as sympathetic, which might make people join their cause even more, which I hope that's not the case. I hope that, you know, if you punch a Nazi and you're like, oh, that poor Nazi, I hope you don't think that. That's just crossing a line to me. There's ways to handle confronting Nazis or Nazi supporters, and then there's ways not to. Getting into altercations with them doesn't help your cause. It more or less helps them, because then it makes people say, "Wow, look how terrible those people acted to those people who do have terrible beliefs." But still, look at how they're acting. It's terrible, because you can't root for either side. One has these ideologies that have been debunked and are just awful, and this other is trying to promote violence towards other people. They're both wrong. All right. See, the show is bad though. Wait, whatever. The Rurouni Kenshin author was charged with possession of child pornography. Oh damn. Oh. Ah. Yuck. Still a good show though. Still a good show. Again, him having child pornography has nothing to do with Rurouni Kenshin, unless Rurouni was always staring at like little kids and like, delicious. Then yes, condemn that show. But that show is all about a samurai who gave up the way of the samurai to live a normal life, but seems to be dragged in time and time again. But that's a bummer. That sucks. He admitted to liking kids and owning pedophilic material, and said he liked schoolgirls around elementary. Hey, oh. He openly confessed that? I would applaud him for his ballsiness if I wasn't so disgusted by it. Oh. Let's see. Have you heard of a YouTuber named Abba Bend? He's a commentator on social issues, anime, video games, Marvel, and many other things. I actually have heard about him. The real question, though, would you still support his stuff even though he's a pedophile? I don't know if I would support him, but I will support the animators, the studio that released his work, mainly because I feel like the work transcends past the creator. Because like you can create something, but once you create it, it's no longer just your thing. Because there are multiple people that bring it to life. You may be the most vocal part of it, or maybe the most crucial part of it, but you're not the only part of it. Take, for example, someone mentioned the Loud House earlier, Chris Savino. Chris Savino created the Loud House, but now Chris Savino is no longer a part of the Loud House. And he directed all of the episodes before his departure. But that show still thrives because the show is bigger than its creator. It goes beyond its creator. And that's what Rurouni Kenshin should be. It shouldn't be remembered as the show or the manga created by the guy that openly admitted to liking elementary school girls. It should be remembered as this really badass anime about a samurai warrior who gives up the way of the samurai to live a normal life but gets dragged in time and time again. That's what you should remember Rurouni Kenshin for. And honestly, that's what I remember him for. I'm not even going to think about the whole... I don't even want to think about that whole pedophilia thing. Oh, yuck! What did I miss, Tony? Everything. Everything. You missed everything. By the way, Roger, are you still in the chat? Are you still watching, man? My friend Roger said he was going to be watching this live show. So, Roger, you still here? Let me know in the comment, bro. Let's see. Separate art from artists. My God, what's happening now? Probably had guilt in his mind when he said that. Are you going to see Deadpool 2? Of course. That's gag-worthy what he admitted. Gross. They're beating up a blind man. Would a creator still get money for their work while jailed? I don't think they would get money for that. They would give that money to somebody else or something else. Yeah. Let's see. There was a big comment that I was just reading earlier. Where is it? Okay, just want to know. I know another person who doesn't want to support the creator's work because he was a convicted pedophile. Just wanted to know your piece. Well, now you know my piece. Let's see. Are you watching any anime from this season? No, not really. I'm just trying to get back into anime. Black Critic Guy. Should we hate Butch Harmon because Randy Stair killed people? Wait, what? Should we hate Butch Hartman because Randy Stair killed people because he wanted to be a character from Danny Phantom, leading to his suicide to become a ghost? What? I Elijah, I think you need to read that comment again because that comment makes no sense. Um, let's see. Black or Wait, Tony, before I go, since you're a big Rick and Morty fan, have you heard the Rick and Morty fan base went into a meltdown because of the Szechuan disaster at McDonald's? Who didn't hear about that? Everyone and their mother heard about that. Is the term "what is in the past stays in the past" is dead? I don't think it's dead, but the thing is, a lot of people try to bring up the past as a way to condemn the present. So, I mean, you're seeing that with the Me Too movement. Oh, something that guy did 10 years ago. Yeah, we should vilify him now, even though maybe he's become. I think the only time you should condemn them for past mistakes is if they never learn from the past mistakes and are still currently doing it. If they have tried their best to reconcile their mistakes, try to get forgiveness from their victims, I think you should forgive. Don't forget, but forgive. Just remember who they are and then learn from that lesson too. A lot of people just don't want to forgive nowadays. We just want to condemn. Condemn, 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 condemn. And we have no space for forgiveness. And we end up in this place. Bush Hartman left Nickelodeon. Yeah, I saw that video, which I don't know why he tiled it, why I left Nickelodeon, because it seemed very mild manner. You would think if you said something like why I left this, if there'd be a much bigger reason, like a bigger, more controversial reason. But he left on his own terms. He just decided that he was done working for Nickelodeon. He should have just said, like, ending my Nickelodeon career, like that. Have you watched the Cloverfield Paradox? Oh, I think you guys should stick around to my channel in the next couple of hours because you might be seeing a video, wink, wink, about the Cloverfield Paradox, wink, wink. Hey man, hey my man Tony, do you go to church? I do and I don't. I do because my grandparents go to church, and whenever they want me to go, I go with them. But I'm not a religious person. I don't really go to church. I don't believe in church. I don't believe in religion. So I personally, even when I was religious, I never understood the point of going to church. I mean, if God was everywhere, why do we need to go to a building to worship him? Can't we just worship him in the privacy of my house? Shit, we have like fucking, like if you see my house right now, we have literal shrines to religious icons and relics and stuff like that, statuettes. And I'm like, that's basically what you would find in a church. So why do we have to go to a church? We just stay here and do worship, right? I don't think you have to go to a building to worship. Tony, are you going to review Rumbling Hearts for Romance Month? I saw you mentioning it from a tweet before. Funny enough, that was originally supposed to be my first review for Romance Month, but then people kept asking me to do MMO Junkie. So I said, fuck it, I'll do MMO Junkie. It's only 10 episodes. I can finish that. And then I wanted to try that new style. Hopefully I can get to it. I got a lot of things I want to do for Romance Month, and I still got a lot of things I want to do other than that. So have you seen Jeremy John's recent video about the Venom teaser trailer? Yeah, I did. That's actually kind of an interesting video that he made there. Didn't expect that. Although he didn't even review the trailer. So, but I guess I am not one to talk. I did not review any of the trailers I talked about in my trailer roundup. Let's see. Tony is such a good grandson. No, I'm not a good grandson. I'm trying to be a good grandson. I'm trying my best. Randy Starr made YouTube videos saying he was obsessed with Ember from Danny Phantom. He got a shotgun, killed three of his co-workers, then killed himself in hopes of being with Ember. Well, why would you condemn Butch Hartman for that? That's just a crazy person who got too attached to one, like he got too attached to certain art and went crazy. That's not his fault. That's not Butch Hartman's fault. Let's see. All right, I'm going to end this video in 5 minutes, guys. So forgiveness is an important life lesson. I agree. It is an important life lesson. Let's see. Since you brought up Romance Month, if you have the time, watch Chivalry of a Failed Knight. I think you really dig it. Again, if only you have the time. Well, how long is Chivalry of a Failed Knight? Because I've been asked to watch that for the last 2 years. Ever since I reviewed Ass War, which a lot of people were like, why'd you like Ass War? I'm like, well, it wasn't that I liked it. It just wasn't bad. I enjoyed it for what it was. I mean, it's only 12. It's only 12 episodes. I could probably give that a watch. English reviewers had mixed to positive reviews of for the anime adaptation. Well, I'll give it a watch, maybe. I don't really have a clear set schedule of what I want to watch for BCG Romance Month. I just kind of go along with what I feel like watching. And the Me Too movement, most men involved power abuse. And it happened in a work environment where they have the power over women who had no choice for their livelihood. Wait, what? I feel like there was more to that statement before. No, I can't see. Let's see. Guys, I have built a new... nope. Not reading that comment. Play Doki Doki Literature Club for Valentine's. Funny enough... that might be the game that I'm going to play, because I asked last week. I asked last week, what game should I play for Romance Month? And it was between that one and the one about the disabled girls, which I actually played 3 years ago, but I never finished it because I found it kind of boring. I don't like reading. Forgiveness is letting go from the chains of the past. Yep. Let's see. Did you happen to hear about the Black Panther Rotten Tomato and Facebook controversy? You mean that one about the people saying, hey, let's go crash Rotten Tomato and give Black Panther a rotten score because we feel like Rotten Tomato is biased towards DC films instead of like judging it based off of its own merits? Yeah, I heard about that stupid ass controversy. Fucking dumb. Kawata Shoujo. Yes, that one. I want to play it, but the thing is, when I first played it, it was really boring to me. So, but it has good CG scenes. I mean, I guess I didn't get that far, to be fair. I didn't get that far in the game, but it just it really bored me because there was a lot of reading and it just took too long. I might do it. You know what? I might do it. It's a free-to-play game, just like Doki Doki. We'll wait and see. All right, so got 2 minutes left. Who's your Valentine anime girl? Well, I guess you're just gonna have to wait till Valentine's, won't you? So I guess that really ends everything that I wanted to talk about here. Again, I don't think that the show Recovery of an MMO Junkie should be condemned because of the opinions of its director. It should be judged based off of its own merits as a show. Is it a good show? Is it fun? Is it enjoyable? Are the characters, are the characters good? Excuse me. That's where you should judge MMO Junkie. Don't judge it based off of the merits of its director. All right. That's pretty much all I had to say. Stay tuned. I'm hoping to have another video out tomorrow. By the way, I'm very impressed. I've released 4 videos back to back. I've released 4 videos in a row. I haven't done that in a very long time. Although I will, to be fair, they're not like big mainstream videos. They're more or less like side videos that I thought of doing at the it's like spur of the moment type videos. But I still am impressed. I've done 4 videos in a row. So, and I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it was long and rambly in some parts, and hopefully I was able to make a cogent point. All I want to say is do not condemn MMO Junkie for the views and opinions of its director. Judge it off of its own merits. And you need to separate the art from the artist, because artists are flawed, and so is art, but they're both flawed in different ways. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys real soon with a new video. And as always, guys, if you'd like to see more videos on this channel, be a part of the Black Critic crew, please hit that subscribe button below. Like this video, really enjoyed it. And I'm talking about in a second, the MMO Junkie known as the Black Critic Guy. Till then, peace, YouTube.